Moral reasoning and moral judgment are similar concepts. Some draw a distinction between the two. Reasoning describes the process by which one comes to a moral conclusion. Judgment is the conclusion itself. It's also another aspect of the overall moral psychology field. When someone makes a moral judgment, they're making a claim about some moral dilemma. That dilemma might be an action is right or wrong, a situation is just or unjust. Perhaps it is about a person acting rightly or wrongly, or is a person good or bad. We use moral judgments to praise valued behavior and condemn behavior that is not valued. We also use them to guide future behavior. They can also be in conflict with and override other normative claims. Moral psychology tries to assess moral judgments. A researcher might conduct an experiment, asking participants to make conclusions about a behavior. By observing reactions to behavior, the researcher learns more about people's attitudes towards certain behavior. They also learn what judgments are common versus which are rare. This is in general, but also can be used in specific situations. They can draw conclusions about the relationship between reasoning and judgment for certain circumstances. We know that moral reasoning is an influence on judgment, but we also realize that other factors beyond pure logic are at play, such as moral imagination. Emotions can affect one's judgment or a situation. For example, reflection of our personal experience or bias with another individual based on our lived experience. Internal biases might also be a factor, including unconscious bias and self-serving bias. You aren't necessarily cognizant of them, so they're not pure emotion. For example, something called the halo effect. Halo is when we see one great thing about a person and we let the halo glow of that significant thing affect our opinions of everything else about that person. We are in awe of them due to one thing. External pressures have some influence as well. This is based on our desire to conform. For example, time as an external pressure when we talk about things like deadlines. We all make moral judgments, but what purpose do they serve? Judgments have an effect on the world. The most obvious case is common law. A court makes a decision and it affects moral agents in a legal sense. Judgments can also affect our future decisions. We may choose to do something or not based on our own judgment or the judgment of others. For example, there are neuroscience theories of moral decision-making. This examines the brain in relation to questions like, is there free will? Is morality hardwired into the brain? We can also talk more about the role of neuroscience in understanding moral judgments. Moral cognition is the study of the brain's role in moral decision-making. It is a social science that assesses the rationalizations and biases involved in that decision-making. Moral cognition also involves the study of the brain as it evolves alongside technology. Moral cognition researchers attempt to provide social and biological explanations for how the brain processes information to make moral judgments. Some study genetic and molecular influences, and others use neuroimaging to map areas of the brain to people's choices. There are many ways to study and understand moral judgment. It's important to reflect on why people make the moral decisions they do, and it can reveal quite a bit about how we construct and apply ideas of morality.